Thanks for joining me today. I have a look at the Hip Kit Club kit for the month of May 2020, and I've already actually opened this kit so that I could kind of organize things together. I did order the extra paper pack, and that's why I got things organized for you so that I could have fronts and backs of the sheets together. Now this first batch of paper, and you can see as I turn it over, I will not be doing that through the rest of the video. I'll just pull each sheet over. So this first batch of paper with no branding strips on it is a product by the Stamp Market, and these sheets actually come in a collection pack, and they don't have names for the individual sheets as far as I know. And this month's May kit has a portion of the pack, and I've seen a sneak at the June kit, which I believe contains the rest of the pack. So if you're interested in the paper, that's still available on the Hip Kits Club site, but the actual kits are sold out already. They've been going fast these days. So I fell in love with this paper when I saw its introduction at Creativation back in January, and I wanted to get my hands on it for sure. And I was really excited when I saw it listed in May's kit, and I knew I had to have extra of the paper because it's so usable. It's a combination of very graphic designs like these kind of paint swatches and some of those bold florals, combined with just really usable patterns like the stripes and the kind of jumbo text prints. And then here we've got just a really usable simple stripe, and then that kind of geometric on the back. So these papers to me are really fun, really usable, and I'm very excited to see them all. I think we've got maybe one more here in this kit. And this piece was kind of fun because it had an extra strip. Now this isn't a branding strip, they just printed an extra kind of rainbow stripy strip at the bottom of that paper. So that was kind of an unexpected surprise. Now this bold alphabet print, I want to find something fun to do with all of those letters, and I haven't quite thought of what I want to do with it yet. So I'm curious to see where I will go with that. And this final piece is a orange floral. Now I don't use a lot of oranges, but for some reason this particular shade, and I think because it's balanced out with a lot of white, makes me pretty happy. And then this one is the orange polka dots with kind of a corally background to that. And now we're going to move on to the rest of the pattern papers, and I'll show you the branding strips as we go so you can take a peek. So here we start with Pink Paisley, and I believe this is called Fifth in Monaco, and that's paper number 8, and it's just a bold floral. That would be fun for some watercolor techniques or other coloring techniques. And then the back of that one is very vibrant stripes. And then next up we have another Pink Paisley, Fifth of Monaco. This is paper number 3, and there's the bold version of the florals with those same colors as we see in the stripes on that previous paper. And then here is a really interesting black with the colors filled in the polka dots, so you get kind of a combo of all of those colors going on. And that's the back side of that bold floral. And then we move on to a Vicki Boutin paper, and I believe this is the Let's Wander collection, and this is kind of a sunburst of various colors, very bright and cheery and very Vicki Boutin. And the back side of that one is these kind of navy blue spatter print on a cream base, so that one's very usable to me in a lot of ways. And next up is another Pink Paisley. We just have a black and white butterfly on a creamy pink background. And I like all those butterflies. Again, we could watercolor them or fussy cut them, things like that. And then the back side of that one is this kind of confetti print, and my camera is actually not picking up the colors very well. The colors are a bit more vibrant than what you see here, and you get a mix of various colors. So that is the paper pack for this month's kit. And like I said, I did double up on my paper this time. So let's go ahead and move on to the embellishments. And this first piece is the Pink Paisley jewel dots. I don't know what they're actually called, but there's kind of a combination of very dimensional kind of enamel dots and some gemstone kind of dots. And then we have the Vicki Boutin Let's Wander ephemera pack, and I believe this was a substitution. I think they originally had another pack can't quite remember, but anyway, that's what we ended up with. And then we've got some thickers, and these are kind of the enamel word pieces, and it's a lot of summery vibe going on here. In fact, you can see the word summer more than once in those words. And then this sheet of alpha stickers, thickers by American Crafts, just had me in awe, and the camera is actually picking it up beautifully. It is so iridescent. They are lovely, and this iridescent layer is actually on top of a layer of pink foam, so the edges of the letters you can actually see the pink foam there. And then we finally have a sticker pack, and that's another Pink Paisley product, and you can see some of those butterflies match. And then in this package there's actually some gold accents, and I wanted to use those on a project, which if you stick around I try to include a project and not just show you pretty product, but show you some ideas about how to use it. So that is all the embellishments and all the papers for the May kit. Now I know this May kit is sold out, but you can go online and find these products because they're totally current at your favorite shop. And here is a close-up of those ephemera pieces because I like you to be able to see what's inside. And so I will just continue saying that if you want these pattern papers, you can definitely go purchase those from HipKit. And if you want to get a little taste of everything, you'll have to find another shop because a bunch of these elements are sold out through the HipKit Club. They have been quite popular. So as you can see, this ephemera pack called Let's Wander has a lot of travel theme to it, but I think it's also really usable too. It's just kind of some summery vibe elements, but you can also see the florals and the butterflies, and there's some food pieces there, which would be fun for telling certain stories. And then you've got the, the cameras and I think there was a boat. And these ones are actually cute little postage stamp style sheet that you can tear apart or leave them together. And that camera element had me going. I really liked that. So that's a look at all the pieces so you have a better idea. Let's move on to the project that I have for you today. And so HipKit Club offers a weekly challenge, and this week, or the week of filming, the challenge was a color challenge to use light pink, dark pink, aqua, and yellow. And I have pre-chosen several, well, most all my pieces here to kind of go with that. So I will definitely use all of the alphabets, the word embellishments, and then I think I'm going to put those gold pieces to use from that sticker sheet. And I end up not doing it. So as we get going, I'm just starting with this one big photo of my daughters, and instead of the page being about summer, even though it's a summer picture, I wanted to tell more of a story about their relationship as sisters. And then as I'm cutting down these pattern papers, I realize the back side of this sheet has a lot of cut apart elements that I want to put to good use, especially since it pulls in all of the different color tones. So we've got the pinks and the aquas and the yellows. And I'm going to start building up my design. Now that background pattern paper has some very subtle white print on it that actually is big numbers. So I use that horizontal strip to kind of highlight the number 2 to go with my 2 daughters. And then I start kind of covering up the other numbers to make them less noticeable. So that is a kind of a little design tip. If there's a part of your pattern paper that really speaks to you or your story somehow, to go ahead and use the elements of the rest of your layout to bring more attention to that part. So I'm bringing more attention with my arrangement of clusters to that number 2. And here is these letter stickers in actions. I had a little bit of a hard time with these. They kept peeling off the carrier sheet as I was working with them, so I had to be really careful and go really slowly, and then sometimes I still got that stuff stuck on there. But I think it's worth it because this iridescent is just amazing. And this is just a little ruler I made for myself that I often use when I'm working with alphabet letters to help me line up things. And then I'm giving myself some little landing strips with some of the pattern paper to start building this upper cluster with my title in it. And as I'm building these clusters, I'm going to make sure I repeat elements in all 3 of the clusters. So with my 2 main clusters, I wanted to make sure that I had brought in all of the those tag elements, and so I've got a range of colors in each one. So I made sure there was some pink, some aqua, some yellow in each cluster in some form. And then you can see I added in that, cut apart that rainbow stripe that I'm going to add into my clusters later as another element. And now I'm adding flowers to each cluster, and then I'm adding some butterflies to each cluster, and those shoes actually kind of go with my journaling. So even though they're kind of an independent item there, they make sense in my whole design element with my journaling. So you can see I'm just kind of fidgeting with things and trying to get this placement just right. As I'm layering things, I don't mind cutting things apart and then carrying that excess piece off into another cluster, so that kind of helps expand your supplies and helps pull elements all the way across so that things make sense together, and it makes it cohesive. So I skipped a bit of the gluing down process and a little bit of my fussing so that we could move on to this next cluster here. And I wanted to give you a tip when you're working with these clusters. It can be a little aggravating once you've got things placed down how you like them to kind of get them back in their spot. So I'll slow this down for a moment and we'll do this in real time. When I've got my cluster built, I just grab some washi tape, and this is just a design of washi tape that I wouldn't use very much of. It's got some dinosaurs on it. And I lay the washi tape over my cluster and I try to overlap all of my pieces. And you'll see here in a second that I do end up losing one of the pieces, but that's okay. If you need to, use more than one piece of washi tape. And then when you've got everything taped down, turn it over and apply all your adhesive to any little exposed bit of your cluster, and that's where I lost my piece there, you can see, but that's okay. I can just tuck it in when I'm done. So you've got this whole grouping to work with, and it makes it so much easier to deal with it as one solid chunk. And then you can just press that into place once your adhesive is there, and you can carefully peel away that washi tape. And even if you're worried about the washi tape tearing, another good tip to do is to kind of press the washi tape up against the back of your skin or even your pants or shirt so that it picks up some skin oils or lint and helps kind of de-tack it a little bit. And that way, when you're peeling it, it won't do as much damage. Now, I had started peeling that and it did start tearing. So I decided to stop what I was doing, work on another piece of my washi tape, and then go a little bit slower. So I would definitely recommend de-tacking the washi tape a little bit. But if you're careful enough, you can get this to work, and it's a great way to build your clusters and then get them back into place how you want them to be. So there we go. A little bit of a mistake with the tearing of the paper, but that is okay. So I am going to speed you up again and we'll get back through the rest of this layout. So as I'm looking at things, again, I'm adding little bits and pieces here and there of elements to make sure I've got everything pulled together. And then I'm finishing off with date stamps because I dated my photo date and also my journaling date, since the photo is the whole layout is less about the photo than it is about my journaling. So I wanted to make sure I had both dates on there. And I finish up my journaling, and then I look at all the rest of my strips and I decide I'm done with all the little pattern paper layers, and I move on to some final gemstone embellishments as just those little final sprinkles of touches. And then I move on to that sticker sheet, and I really thought I was going to use some of those gold elements, but with this iridescent titling, I didn't think the gold worked out very well, but I did realize that I had that everyday word down there is in black and white, and I didn't have a lot of black and white elements. I mean, I have a little bit of that pattern paper. So I added those black and white butterflies to help pull in more black and white elements. And then instead of going with the gold stickers, I decided to use another bits and pieces of that iridescent alphabet to pull in more of that to each of my clusters. And then in the end, I've got my layout all done. I will leave you with a close-up view of this layout and a little bit of panning around to see the images up closer just a bit. But don't go just yet. I am not quite finished. I have two bonus layouts for you that use the Hip Kit Club from this month as well. As we head into these bonus layouts, this first layout uses the exact same photo from the previous layout, and this is going in my second daughter's album. Now when I have the exact same photo to put in both kids' albums, I usually just duplicate the layout pretty much. But this time I wanted to see what I could come up with differently design-wise with this same photo, and so here's what I ended up with. And this final layout is even different in style. The challenge here was to use a lot of white space, and that is exactly what I did, using a sonogram photo of my middle child and telling the story of how we chose her name. If you enjoyed this video, please do give it a like, and if you'd like to see my future videos, subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss anything. Thank you for joining me.